Okay, so a couple notes regarding, again, I know it's up here, but I know these get missed, and I do want to make sure that this is all reiterated. So um, the sketches and the wireframe. So the sketches have been great, but I do want to just talk about a couple things. First and foremost, remembering that this is an app. So a lot of people almost designed it as an app and kind of like also thinking about it as a website. So we really want to make sure that it's simplified. We don't want to have a lot of details. Like generally on an app, we don't, we wouldn't bother putting an about page or a history page or things like that. I did see a few of those. Um, so you don't need to do that. I mean, unless you really, really want to, but you generally don't need to. That sort of information would be on the website. Maybe you can link to the website from that app. Simplify, simplify, simplify. So the client is a small food truck, I typo there, with a few food items. So there's no need to overcomplicate things. We want to, I know sometimes making things like really interesting and different is good, but they always have to go in with intention. So we don't want to do things just for the sake of adding something somewhere because it's different from maybe what your friend is doing or what your neighbor's doing. Sometimes really the way that we're all kind of putting things and placing things is perhaps the best way. So there's still lots and lots of different ways that we could do that. But again, simplify. Those onboarding pages I've discussed with most of you folks who I did get to meet with a one-on-one meeting. So those onboarding pages, take a look back at the anatomy lecture. They should still be onboarding. Let's see. So onboarding examples. So this is onboarding. So as you can see, very simple, a little illustration. It doesn't look anything like we're actually physically in the website. Generally, it's a picture and some text, a picture and text. You can see most of the examples out here are pretty much exactly that. A lot of the sketches have, I read this late, have both a hamburger menu and a sticky base menu, which is not necessary unless, again, unless you do perhaps have included like a lot of extra pages. But for the most part, it's a bit confusing to have two different navigations. Stick with one, okay? Again, sometimes there might be two for like really large sites or really large apps, but because we're generally only navigating through 4 pages, if not less, I think we click through 3 pages, but that account page doesn't actually need to be on there. So again, simplifying things. Again, here's some of that about pages, which is fine, but again, it's not necessary. And you do not need to design that account profile page. It just needs to appear in, again, either in your sticky menu or in your actual navigation. So profile / account pages are just to be placed in navigation, does not need to be linked from anywhere. Last but not least about this is read the damn brief. Please read the brief. A lot of people have put, so I noticed like different menu items and some different text. It's fine to show your personality in these things. So adding like a fun tagline or things like that. But when it comes down to that home screen text, if there's text that I have supplied to you, that's a better way to put it. If there's text that I've supplied to you, that should be there. We shouldn't have either missing that text or change that, because generally when you're working with a client, if they have specifically assigned you copy, you use that copy. If you feel the need to add a little bit more, you're welcome to, but please read the brief and use the copy that is, pardon me, that is specifically there. Pardon me. Okay, so I feel like I was kind of giving it to you a little bit there. The next thing I do want to show you is, just leave this one open. So just as we did with our sketches, handing your wireframes in like this in a nice presentation, you will still, some of you may not have a lot, but if there's any areas that are essentially not clearly labeled, like I know here this is an email field, I know this is a button, but here it's an image. If you want to let your client know, oh, this is actually going to be a Taco Hero image. Here, this is a menu scrolling page. So if you do have one long scrolling page, I do have a video of how to put those in there. So you can break that page up into multiple pages so we can get them all on one presentation page. That, my folks, you can find in the wireframing module, which is here, wireframe presentation example. Okay. A couple other things that were added to this section, how to export your XD file as JPEGs to set up your presentation. Another note I wanted to go over here is for your wireframes project, please ensure you look at handing in. So once completed, export your wireframes as JPEG or PNG, you're welcome to. Create a presentation by placing those JPEGs and PNGs and annotating where necessary into separate pages in InDesign, like the example I just showed you and in the video that I created as well. Then you create a PDF and you submit that, but I also need your working XD file. So make sure that XD file doesn't have that little cloud image at the top. In a couple meetings, I did notice that. I believe I went over that in one of our classes, but just to reiterate, wait till this sucker opens. When you, it will automatically save to the cloud, and what you need to make sure, so if you have a little cloud icon here, you want to make sure you go File, Save as a local document, because if it's saved in the cloud, you're going to have a tough time getting it into Dropbox. So make sure it's saved as a local document. That's how you, and then you save as you normally would save. I'm just going to